All right. Welcome to the Dear Lacrosse pod. I'm Angie Benson, and this is a new podcast that I really just want to start. And I recorded this episode last night, and obviously I've been reflecting and listening to it. So I just want to give a quick little intro before we kind of kick it off with the first epi. In this intro, I really just try to bring raw emotions out, really just talk about my experiences, and obviously why I think certain things are the way they are in our lacrosse world. Mind you, I have bootstrapped the crap out of this thing. I literally recorded in my friend's mom's office / guest bedroom / little brother's art storage area. And then I found some $10 freaking mic that hooks up to my phone that sucked, so I might as well just not use it ever again. I'm buying new mics. But remember, this is just the very beginning of what is about to transpire, and I felt like there was no better way than to start something I've been wanting to start with kind of the news that transpired with the Professional Women's Lacrosse League. So hopefully you guys enjoy the first episode. The first segment of it is really just me talking, not gonna lie, it's kind of boring. And then the second segment, I get into the hard asking questions, and I'm just excited for the episodes to come. But yeah, this is the little intro spew. Yeah, hopefully I'll get more personality on this, but yeah, that's where we're at. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Dude, what is going on? It's heebie-jeebies. I don't know what's happening. Enjoy the next video.
I guess I'm doing it. All right. Welcome to the Dear Lacrosse pod. My name is Angie Benson. I am your host. All right, that sounds crazy. Anywho, I'm just starting a podcast, and I feel like today's news was kind of just a good way to start this podcast. I've been wanting to start podcasting for a little bit. I really like talking to people, learning new things, their experiences, creating conversation. So for this podcast, I kind of want to dive deep in lacrosse, which is why I called it the Dear Lacrosse pod. I want to talk about things that people don't really talk about. I want to talk about the transfer portal. I want to talk college recruiting. I want to talk about athletic mindset. I want to talk about the nitty-gritty things, why a coach left the school. That's stuff their sport should talk more about. And yeah, so this is where we're at. Today, I don't know when this podcast will be launched, hopefully soon after I record this, but today there is just some news in the women's professional lacrosse world. AU is Athletes Unlimited no longer holding lacrosse under their umbrella of professional leagues. I've been back and forth on wanting to do this podcast for a little bit and talk about these things, and all day so many things are going through my head. But yeah, I want to talk about it. What does this mean? Part of me, given my experience with Athletes Unlimited, how my pro career kind of just went, part of me is damn, I said this from the get-go. I called it. It wasn't sustainable. It goes a lot deeper than that. Just how we got paid, who was paying us, how the league generated revenue, money, and agendas that were pushed, and the things players went through, what I went through, and so part of me of this situation is just there's a cat. I'm literally recording this freaking episode in my friend's mom's office / guest bedroom. So this is this is how much I want to talk about this, and a cat is ruffling in the papers. But anywho, with all that being said, part of me is are you surprised? Come on, there's just so many things to dive deep in. So part of me is just damn, all the stuff I went through for something that didn't even last, that didn't even exist, or doesn't exist anymore, I guess. they're saying it's based off like World Lacrosse and Olympic playing and X amount of players, or the numbers of games doesn't make sense because there's a lot of professional lacrosse players who have been pro and I don't believe were uplifted in their pro career in their time, who can play at the high competitive level. There's so many people out there. If we had a combine or tryout or training camp or something that can compete at this level, I don't think like all of 20 to 25 people are like the end all be all of professional women's lacrosse. And also at the same time, why I think this is absolutely terrible for the professional women's lacrosse games is because now we only have a pro league geared towards sixes, which is great for the Olympic standing. But if we sit here and take basketball and we're like, basketball is now going to be 3-on-3 because the Olympics host 3v3, so that's now going to be professional basketball. No, we still have NBA, WNBA rules, professional basketball rules, and we also have the 3v3 in the Olympics. So I think getting rid of field pro women's lacrosse really does hurt the game in a lot of ways in numbers, and we are now cutting roster sizes to fulfill sixes rosters and numbers. So I don't think the dream of being a lacrosse player is now easily obtainable. In fact, I think it's probably twice as hard. Yeah, no, like I don't think this is good for the sport at all. So, but again, like, are you surprised with AU? They're a secondary league to every other sport. They're a secondary league to basketball. They're not the WNBA. They're a secondary league to softball, secondary league to volleyball. Like, they run in conjunction with other leagues, and I think that is what was portrayed the past couple of weeks, is that we have all this opportunity in professional women's lacrosse, and now it's just kind of gone because I don't think people really took a dive deep on where the money was coming from, where the money they accepted was coming from, and the things that were pushed with this money. And again, like, we were not making much revenue. When you have George Soros' son owns the league, but basically, in my opinion, George Soros runs this whole entire show, funding politicians, using women's sports to do things, owning radio stations, and like, we're in the league and we're following COVID protocols that were uplifted federally to begin with. Like, a lot of things that were pushed, even with the diversity cards, just a lot of things went down. And obviously it's not good to see less opportunity fail in the women's game, and that's just not what I want to come across. But again, I'm just really not surprised, and I'm just more upset for all the people who had opportunity kind of just like stripped, and there's multiple people that had that, and I just kind of spoke out about it, and yeah, I got slapped on the wrist. Don't get me wrong, I've been back and forth about doing something about this because I've spent so long building the community I have currently in the lacrosse world. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love the kids I train. I love thoroughly enjoying the game and growing the game and playing the game and traveling and meeting all these people. And I've worked so hard after my professional debut to really build this community because there was nowhere to be found after my rookie season, and I literally just had to like sit here and just build it. And I'm so proud of what I have built. And this is like, I don't ever want this podcast to like, or whatever I say, to hurt the people that I help, because that is the whole point of what I do, is to help people. And I never want my issues to project on somebody else's success. Like, that sucks. That's not what I'm here for. That's not what coaching's about. So I want to make sure I'm like there for the people I support, people that pay me, and the people that look up to me. Like, so I'm not over here trying to just completely on this come with the situation, but I do want to say my piece, and I needed a platform to be able to do so, and this is where I'm at. Yeah, so anywho, the rest of this podcast is gonna be probably a little bit more eventful. I do want to keep it like a solo pod. I don't think there's like solo pods in lacrosse, and I do want to have some guests here and there, but I just want to sit here, watch some lacrosse, shoot it around, do my thing, talk what I think is important, share what I know, and listen to other people's experiences and like call it a day. And that's really all I want to get out of this. But yeah, I'm not here to ruin whatever is going on, but I do think all the people that, sorry, freaking, my phone's about to die, but I do think all of the people that are just kind of involved, and I just want to know where you at now, like where do the NDAs still exist, or like am I still like the villain? Like what happens now? I don't know. I think By the Pro sounds really freaking cool right now. And I think that's the tea. Dear Lacrosse, I think we got ourselves a pickle right now. But peace out, episode 1. Join the ride. Okay, I literally had to like re-record and like start this back up because I literally finished the first session. Oh my gosh, it's crooked. I literally finished the first session. So this is like, I guess part 2 maybe, because I got a phone call directly after from an old AU player I played with and just got my creative juices flowing and just got the conversation. This is absolutely I think the standing question really comes down to, does anybody have a clear-cut plan on making the difference between full field professional lacrosse and Olympic, lack of better terms, sixes, half court, whatever. Okay, I'm all for growth of the game, sixes. It completely makes sense at the Olympic level, but who is making the difference between the Olympic 6-on-6 game versus the pro 10-on-10, 12-12, whatever anyone decides this year? But that is ongoing question. And how do we get new fans engaged in what is actually professional women's lacrosse versus Olympic women's lacrosse? Athletes Unlimited it's been in conversation about the money that's being made in lacrosse is not nearly as much as all the other sports that are going on with what they do. And like we knew kind of like a lot of people kind of guessed this, and it's kind of just been talk. And I remember before it was said to me, use my legal terms, said to me that the PLL was always planning to start some type of women's side. So it just makes sense. I don't think this was new news. Like this is what's like the most confusing. Like none of this stuff is like completely new news, and the legal verbiage in the release statement is also super interesting. And again, we're blaming, I guess, roster size or talent level. I don't freaking know. Like, I don't even know what we're blaming as to why it can't exist. But I don't think that's the only reason why it can't exist. And there's been multiple reasons why it wasn't existing. And we just weren't parallel to all the other sports that they have. And again, they were secondary leagues to every other sport that's excelling, but they were our primary league for our field lacrosse. And I don't think their business model functions as a primary league to begin with. And lo and behold, here we are again, especially with like no general managers, no coaches, no this, no that. Like we play a bunch of chicks in a freaking bubble for 4 to 5 weeks. And I think a lot of people just saw the dollar signs, which is like the most we've been paid as like professional women's lacrosse players, and then we just chased dollar signs for 4 weeks. But again, it wasn't feasible. There's a lot of athletes that had jobs that paid for stuff for the rest of their living and lives, and they couldn't stop what they're doing for 4 weeks, or maybe it just wasn't entertaining to go to. Like, I don't know, you're telling me you couldn't fill out rosters with the growth of the fastest growing sport ever? We couldn't fill out any type of roster. I don't know. It's just hard to believe. It's just something that we already kind of knew was coming. And now you're saying that's why something can't exist. So I just think it's a little bit more deeper than that. And again, I would say the pro reaction has been interesting on who is kind of like saying stuff and not saying stuff, how people are responding to it. Super quiet. And I wonder if certain pros already had their contracts for 25. Like, I wonder if they already like handed out contracts and signed. So I'm interested again. Like, the verbiage was in like I want to know how this unfolds, and I'm sure we'll all see it and be here to be like front row freaking popcorn to watch it. But we just crushed some kid dreams. And again, I just want to know the difference between sixes and pro women's lacrosse, and who has a plan for that, and what is the plan. I kind of have a plan, but that's not relevant.